Hello and welcome to Slow Night Sleepy Stories. You have worked hard today. Leave the noise of the busy world outside the door. Now is the time to rest, just for you. Tonight, we continue with part 3 of Master Wonhyo's journey, breaking vows and the night at Yoseok Palace. May his story of letting go of strict rules to find true freedom bring peace to your tired mind tonight. To ensure your undisturbed sleep, after 5 minutes, the screen will slowly fade to complete darkness, so you can rest without any distracting light. Please let go of all worries and close your eyes. Now, guided only by my voice and the sound of rain, let us walk together into the deep, healing silence. Have a restful night. After sending Wonhyo away, Princess Yoseok entered her room, embraced the clothes Wonhyo had worn for 3 days, and wept. It was too short a connection. Princess Yoseok had not yet developed deep affection for her former husband Gyeojin, nor was she of an age to do so at that time. No matter how mature the princess was, as a 15-year-old girl, she could not have known the deep affection of a married couple. However, Princess Yoseok had longed for Wonhyo for 10 years. Moreover, she had longed for him for 10 years while fearing she would lose him to Queen Sungmun. The princess had resigned herself to the fact that her wish for this love with Wonhyo could not be fulfilled in this life. She thought Wonhyo was not the kind of person who would listen to a woman's romantic pleas. Yet, day and night, the princess thought and fretted, determined to fulfill her wish regarding Wonhyo by any means necessary. And now, the princess's wish had been fulfilled. For 3 days, the princess was able to serve Wonhyo as her husband. That joy and gratitude could not be compared to anything else. However, it was too brief a connection, if only for just 1 day. Although the princess had prayed like this, and although it was decided from the first day that they could not continue married life for long, she still had not thought the connection would end so shortly. The princess would fall asleep only to wake up startled, looking for Wonhyo. This was because she thought he might have left her sleeping and gone into the mountains. Then, finding Wonhyo's body beside her, she would sigh with joy and relief. The princess did not think that Wonhyo had fallen for her beauty or coveted her position as a princess. She believed that Wonhyo forming a bond of life and death with her came solely from compassion, a pitying thought to save her. She believed he had granted her wish even to the point of breaking his vows. Because of that, Wonhyo became even more precious and missed. Wonhyo was gone. The husband, Wonhyo, who had given her extreme love for 3 days, was gone. He left without looking back. Now, all that remained here were the clothes he had worn in the palace for 3 days. Embracing these clothes, the princess wept, missing Wonhyo. It became the 7th day of the 7th month, Choseok. That year, the hemp harvest was bountiful, so the people farming hemp were happy. Other crops did well too. There was no war during the summer, so the people praised the new king, saying peace had come thanks to his virtue. The king and the queen moved to Yoseok Palace on this day. Princess Jijo also came escorting her parents, and the daughters of officials ranked Asan or higher in the 6 departments also gathered. Choseok was a holiday for daughters. It is the day when the weaver maid, Jiknyo, and the cowherd meet once a year at the Milky Way in the sky. The weaver maid, the daughter of the Sky King, lives separately from the cowherd as punishment for disobeying a command. Only after the weaver maid weaves 3,600 ja, a unit of length of fine hemp cloth, and the cowherd makes 3,600 pairs of hemp shoes, can the couple meet once on the evening of Choseok. It is said that if a man makes shoes on this day, his making skill increases, and if a woman weaves hemp or sews, her skill increases. 6 looms are placed in the large room of Yoseok Palace. If the looms are brought in on this day, they are only removed on the last day of the 9th month. The maidens of the 6 departments are divided into 2 teams, with the 2 princesses acting as leaders for each team. They begin hemp weaving from this day, and on the harvest moon day, in August, they compare their results. When the queen herself decides the winner, the losing side provides alcohol, rice cakes, and meat, and they play, singing the Hosogok song, playing music and dancing. From the next day, they light a chaff fire in the yard to starch the hemp. They apply paste to the warp threads and wind them onto the beam. When this is finished, they hang the beam on the loom and sing, sweeping deeply, separating the hemp, hanging the heddles in the clouds, the reed case is birch, and the temple is mugwort. Singing this song, they weave the hemp. The gathered women were all daughters of aristocrats with 700 years of lineage. Yushin's house was originally not Silla, but of the royal family of Gaia, but the rest were all daughters of families carrying the blood of the Silla royal family. King Namel was known for having many descendants and many talented figures among them, but recently King Jinhung also had many sons and daughters. They were all precious daughters raised with such royal blood. Regarding age, they were 14, 15 to 17 or 18. Perhaps because the country was about to flourish, there were many good-looking men and women in Silla at this time. There were vigorous men and beautiful, virtuous women. Among the national immortal Hwarang, great figures like Sadaham, Muno, Binyongja, and Yushin appeared, and among women, great figures like Queen Sondeok and Queen Jindeok appeared. As for Buddhism, it was even more flourishing, with monks like Wonguang, Jiazhang, Wonhyo, and Wisang, whose names were high even in Tang China. The national immortal way Guksondo took loyalty and filial piety as its model. This was never an idea that came from Chinese scholarship, but Silla's unique thought. Whether it is Kim Daimun's book Hwarang Segi saying, "Wise ministers and loyal subjects flourish from this, and good generals and brave soldiers are born from this," or Choi Chi-wan's Nalang Biso saying, "The country has a mysterious way called Pungryu." The source of the teaching is detailed in the mystic history. It actually encompasses the three teachings and transforms the masses. Entering the home, one is filial. Going out to the country, one is loyal. This is the purport of the minister of Lu, Confucius. Dwelling in non-action and practicing wordless teaching, this is the ancestor of the Zhou archivist, Laozi. Doing no evil and practicing all good, this is the influence of the Prince of India, Buddha. All speak of this Silla ancient divine way, Guxiando. Judging by the phrase, the source of the teaching is detailed in the mystic history. The origin of this Guxiando, also called Pungryudo, was already recorded in detail in the Sinsa, mystic history, a history recording events from the beginning of Silla's founding. Therefore, this teaching originated far back in the chaotic times. In the spring of the 37th year of King Jinhung, it is written in Silla history, first enshrined Wonhwa, Shibong Wonhwa. To recognize and use talented people, two beauties named Namo and Junjong were selected as Wonhwa, and a group of over 300 young scholars was gathered. However, the two women competed over their beauty and became jealous of each other. Junjong took Namo to her house, forced her to drink wine until she was drunk, and then dragged her out and threw her into the river to kill her. Junjong was executed, and the group of 300 lost harmony and dispersed. This is the record regarding first enshrined Wonhyo, but it is unknown whether Wonhwa refers to the two women or the group of 300. Next, seeing the text, selected beautiful men and adorned them, named them Hwarang and revered them, it seems Wonhwa in the previous article referred to the two beautiful women. To say they selected beautiful men, adorned them, named them Hwarang, and revered them is also ambiguous. They would not have revered Hwarang merely for the beauty of their faces. It must have meant they chose handsome and capable people. That is why it is said, named them Hwarang and revered them. Crowds gathered like clouds. Sometimes they polished each other through morals. Sometimes they delighted each other with songs and music. They roamed and enjoyed mountains and waters, going everywhere regardless of distance. Through this, their character, whether crooked or upright, was known, and the good ones were chosen and recommended to the court. In other words, capable youths gathered to polish themselves with morals, delight each other with songs and music, seek out landscapes to enjoy no matter how far, and practiced in this manner. Then what is the content of the morals that the Hwarang polished? This can be known from the dialogue between Guisan and Master Wonguang. Guisan was the son of Moon Agan of the Saryang district. In his youth, he was close with Bimok Chuhang from the same district. Once, the two said to each other, "If we wish to associate with noble gentlemen, we cannot avoid shame without first rectifying our minds and cultivating our bodies. Let us go to a wise man and ask about the way." And they sought out Master Wonguang. The master had returned from studying in Sui, China, and was at Gassel Temple, receiving respect from the people of that time. Guisan and Bimok lifted their clothes, approached the master's door, and said, "We secular people are foolish and know nothing. We pray you give us a word to make our lifelong precept." To Guisan and Bimok's request, Wonguang answered thus, "In Buddhism there are precepts called the Bodhisattva precepts, numbering 10. Since you are subjects and sons of others, it will likely be difficult to keep them. There are 5 secular precepts, Sesokogye. First, serve the king with loyalty. Second, serve parents with filial piety. Third, make friends with trust. Fourth, do not retreat in battle. Fifth, be selective when taking life. You should practice these 5 well and not be negligent." Guisan and Bimok received the teaching and swore, "From now on, we will uphold and practice your teaching and never forget it." After that, in August of the 19th year of King Jimpyong Jeonbok, when a large Baekje army besieged Amak fortress, the king sent generals Pajinchen Jeonpum, Muragul, Irabeol, and Jupchen Moon, Biria, to block them. Guisan and Bimok served as junior officers in the war. Moon was Guisan's father. While chasing the retreating Baekje army, they encountered an ambush at Cheonsan Pond, and this time the Silla army was forced to retreat. At that time, Moon, who was fighting bravely at the vanguard of the Silla army, fell behind while retreating and was hooked by the ambushers, falling from his horse and being captured. Upon this, Guisan shouted loudly, "I once heard from my teacher not to retreat in battle, so how can I run away?" Turning his horse, he charged into the Baekje army, killed tens of enemy soldiers, rescued his father, put him on his horse, and sent him off. Then, wielding his spear alongside Bimok, he fought. The Silla soldiers saw this and were all inspired, charging into the Baekje army. Baekje corpses filled the field, and not a single horse or cart returned. Guisan and Bimok, having been struck by countless swords and spears all over their bodies, died on the way back. The king led the officials to meet them at the field of Anna, wailed before their corpses, held a funeral with rites, and posthumously promoted Guisan to Nama and Bimok to Desa. From this on, you can guess what Pungryu, Hwarang, Guxian, and Wanhwa were. It is this spirit of loyalty and filial piety as one entity, handed down from ancient times, that allowed Silla's national vein to continue for 1,000 years. With this spirit, men cultivated themselves, lived, and took pride. Furthermore, in Silla at this time, with the great task of unifying the 3 kingdoms ahead, the Hwarang spirit flourished through men like Yushin, Pumsok, and Binyongja. The spirit of Silla women at this time responded to this as well. They also revered loyalty and filial piety. Regarding loyalty, although women did not hold office or go to the battlefield directly, as mothers to sons, sisters to brothers, and wives to husbands, they taught, encouraged, and motivated them to become loyal subjects. Whether it was Munmyeong marrying Chunchu, her mother Manmyeong marrying Seoyeon to birth Yushin, or Princess Yoseok admiring Wonhyo, it is all proof that what the women of that time pictured in their minds was a manly man. The women gathered at Yoseok Palace on this day all carried a knife in their bosoms. This is called a body knife, Yunjangdo. It was a readiness to fight anyone who committed injustice against them at any time, and to kill themselves before their bodies were disgraced. Secondly, what these beautiful maidens harbored in their hearts was one fine man. A fine man meant one who was physically robust, handsome, good at archery, skilled with sword and spear, good at riding horses, eloquent, possessed the chivalrous spirit to curb the strong and help the weak, and was also good at singing and dancing, a vigorous and refreshing man. The group of Hwarang were people who aimed to become such men. Their age was 17 or 18. Next, those who received the admiration of Silla maidens at the time were famous monks. They were famous monks who abandoned home, wealth, and comfort to wander famous mountains and great rivers with a single set of ragged clothes and a staff. These men were also mostly originally Hwarang, skilled in archery, horsemanship, singing, and dancing. If they were to take office, they would reach the ranks of Ichan or Gupchen, and if they were to become military commanders, they would be generals. Yet they shaved their heads and wore black robes to become monks. Speaking of the famous monks of Silla at that time, when Master Wonguang was invited to the palace, the king personally prepared side dishes and tea medicine to treat him. When he was in Sui, Emperor Yang of Sui and the people of Jiangnan treated him as a saint. Vinaya Master Jajang influenced the state affairs of the country throughout the reigns of Queen Seondeok and Queen Jindeok. Besides them, there was Master Anhong for high spiritual power, Great Master Daean for unconventionality, and Wonhyo and Uisang, who were young but famous in both Silla and Tang. Uisang was still in Tang and had not returned, but the rumors that he was revered by Emperor Gaozong of Tang and that he maintained pure ascetic practices by rejecting the love of the unparalleled beauty Shanmiao were known to all Silla maidens. As for Wonhyo, the rumor circulating among the maidens was that Queen Sungmin had admired him for 10 years without him wavering. It is more difficult that Great Master Wonhyo did not fall for Queen Sungmin than that Great Master Wisang rejected Shanmiao. Silla maidens have said this. The rumor that Princess Yoseok admired Wonhyo began to be heard after Queen Sungmin passed away. If only we could make Great Master Wonhyo break his vows once. There were many maidens who said such things. Wonhyo was a fine man. In the book Song Gaojian, Biographies of High Monks of Song, written by the Chinese man Zanning, there is a biography of Wonhyo of Huangyongsa, Silla, which evaluates Wonhyo's character thus. His dwelling was not constant. He bravely attacked the encirclement of righteousness and heroically moved across the formation of literature. He was vigorous and martial. Advancing, he had no retreat. Sometimes he wrote commentaries to lecture on the Flower Garland Sutra. Sometimes he played the zither to delight shrines. Sometimes he slept in the villages. Sometimes he sat in meditation by mountains and waters. He followed opportunities at will and had no fixed rules at all. Wonhyo is such a great man. If he goes to the battlefield, he is a brave general. If he competes in martial arts, he is the champion. He speaks well, writes well, and when he preaches, he is a person whom praise and finger-snapping sounds boil in the void. He was 33 years old at this time. It was natural that he attracted the hearts of Silla women, how much more so for those free-spirited in passion. On this day, too, they drank wine, sang songs, danced, and played until late at night, with the daughters of the 6 departments divided into 2 sides led by Princess Yoseok and Princess Jijo, respectively. After the gathering ended, the king and queen called for Princess Yoseok. Yoseok offered tea as per custom. The king accepted the tea, drank it, and asked Yoseok, "Have you heard news of Great Master Wonhyo recently?" Yoseok blushed. She bowed her head for a moment and then said, "There has been no news since Great Master Wonhyo visited in May. For a while, they said he was chasing around with Great Master Daean, but then I heard he was seen wandering the villages in the guise of a layman, holding a gourd bowl, wearing a dozen small gourds at his waist, and chanting." Hearing the king speak like this, Princess Yoseok made a surprised expression and looked up at her father, saying, "In the guise of a layman? Great Master Wonhyo in a beggar's guise?" Tears welled up in her eyes. "Yes, in the guise of a layman, and without shaving his head." The queen took up the king's words and said, "They say he clearly had the appearance of a layman, and that Great Master Wonhyo has now changed his name to Layman Boxiong." She sighed. "Layman Boxiong?" The king was also surprised. "It is so." The queen, seemingly thinking she must say this here, gathered her composure and said, "According to words heard from Nun Myosin of Giwon Temple, Great Master Wonhyo declared that he had broken his vows, took off his monastic robes, and became a layman. He even told Master Simsang, who had served him for 10 years, 'I have now become a broken precept monk, and cannot receive offerings from others, so leave.' But Master Simsang insisted on following him, saying he would serve Master Wonhyo whether he broke his vows or not. It is said Wonhyo bowed to Simsang, asking how a layman could employ a monk, saying, 'Before I was your teacher, but since I have broken the precepts, you are conversely my teacher.'" At the queen's words, the king nodded and asked the queen, "So how did he break his vows? Great Master Wonhyo?" There is no word on exactly how or why he broke his vows, but rumors in the world say Great Master Wonhyo was seen entering the house of a playing woman named Samo. Samo, the king was surprised again. Even Samo boasts that she served Great Master Wonhyo for 1 night. "Rightly so," the king laughed. "Your Majesty, do you know Samo?" A moment of jealousy arose in the queen's heart. Jealousy also arose in Yoseok's heart. Where's the man who doesn't know Samo? She is beautiful and haughty. How haughty can a playing woman be? A look of displeasure appeared on the queen's face. Yoseok lowered her head. Only Jijo watched the king's mouth as if amused. How haughty is she? She doesn't come even when Chunchu calls, and she doesn't even reply when Yushin sends a letter. Isn't that haughty enough? Ha! The king laughed cheerfully. At the mention of Yushin sending a letter to Samo, Jijo's face clouded. Ha! The king laughed even more and said, Yushin will be furious if he knows he lost to Wonhyo, shaking his body with log. Realizing that it was her brother Yushin, not the king, who had fallen for Samo, the queen's anger dissolved, and a smile appeared on her face. Then did great Master Wonhyo fall for Samo's hand, or did Samo fall for Wonhyo? The king felt an interest, bordering on a joke. I will tell you, Yoseok lifted her head. Even if 30 Samos clung to him, great Master Wonhyo's heart would not move. How do you know? Great Master Wonhyo came to Yoseok Palace on the night he went to Samo's house. The master told me about going to Samo's house. Then did Great Master Wonhyo break his vows at Yoseok Palace? It is so. The king raised his body from where he was leaning and rejoiced, saying, Is that true? So you have achieved your wish? I am awed. I should have told your majesty already, but I was awed and ashamed, so I could not. So, how did Great Master Wonhyo come to Yoseok Palace? Hearing he would pass by Elm Bridge, I had soldiers guard it. Would there be anyone among soldiers who could match Great Master Wonhyo? The soldiers were all thrown into the water, but the steward of Yoseok Palace begged, and we welcomed Great Master Wonhyo in. Is that so? I stated my wish to Great Master Wonhyo to give me one wise son. Is that so? Great Master Wonhyo stayed for 3 days and left. Is that so, and there is no news since? It is so. However, there are signs in my body, and I have no appetite. At these words, the queen looked at Princess Yoseok intently and said, Oh, it is pregnancy. I hope you bear a son. Oh, if a son is born, a wise son will be born. A wise person being born is a blessing for the country. My child, take care of your body. The king nodded. His grizzled beard shook. So that is why he said he broke his vows. The king muttered to himself again. Then it must be so. Would someone like Great Master Wonhyo receive the temptation of a woman like Samo? The queen expressed her satisfaction. Even so, what does layman Boksong mean? The king wondered about this name as if relieved of worry. The character Bok implies lower than the lowest, ha, using the bottom of the character ha, the queen explained. Lower than the lowest, ha! The king stroked his beard and laughed. He visualized Wonhyo. The image of Wonhyo, wandering from village to village, chanting with gourds dangling from his waist and spinning a large gourd seemed funny. However, for the princess, it was a heartbreaking matter. It was sad that because of her, Great Master Wonhyo was acting like a sinner who had broken his vows. The princess felt apologetic for being so comfortable in the palace. In her heart, she wanted to chase after Wonhyo immediately. But she had to give birth to the baby in her womb. It is said that even ghosts cannot harm a pregnant mother. It is said that if a pregnant woman has other thoughts, a great thunderbolt will strike. Yes, let's give birth to the baby. Let's raise the baby for a while and then follow Wonhyo. The princess thought this. The baby growing in her womb made a day feel like 10 years. Her unlined summer clothes wore out, and her body became heavier. Still, the princess did not think this was painful. She believed the baby in her womb would surely be a great person. The princess believed in Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva and rolled her rosary while praying. She prayed to detach from greed, anger, and ignorance, Tamjin Chi, extinguish the sins of previous lives, and become a body as clean as clear water and a polished mirror. One day the princess felt a movement in her womb. She was startled. It was something she felt for the first time in her life. The baby is moving. The princess told the old maidservant. The old maidservant sang, Yora, Yora sa, how thankful, with a face full of joy. Since it is the day the baby first moved, we must offer Dangasama. Said this. Lunch is offering hemp or hemp cloth to Da when there is a happy or sad event in the house. Da means 1,000 years and 1,000 generations, and it is a place for Weo, serving the spirits. Ah, that is right. I also saw mother offering lunch when Jijo was a baby. But recently the world has all changed. It has been a long time since I went to the village palace place where spirits are enshrined to say Eorahama. The princess made a dazed expression, as if recalling something long forgotten. As a princess, it was not clear to her whether praying to Buddha and praying to the Gami-sama, guardian spirit, handed down from ancestors went together or not. At times like this, she wanted to ask if Great Master Wonhyo were by her side. It seemed Great Master Wonhyo would know everything if asked. But where was Great Master Wonhyo wandering now? It was already autumn, and the cool winds had come. She worried about this too. Although it wasn't time to wear lined clothes yet, the mornings and evenings were chilly. The princess set the table morning and evening for her husband, who wasn't home, and made clothes for the season. However, the table was cleared as it was, and the clothes were stored away. There was no way to send them to someone whose whereabouts were unknown. Listening to the old maidservant Gamnangi, it was scary not to serve the spirits that had been served since the ancestors. When she was alone, it wasn't so, but now that there were two precious people, there were gradually more things to fear. What had become of Great Master Wonhyo, and how was the baby in the womb? These were all worries. While she believed Wonhyo was an enlightened person and a bodhisattva whom neither heaven, ghosts, nor humans could harm, she also felt that since he was a human with a physical body, he could get sick, die, and have worries. Even living in one's own house, there is more suffering than joy in this world. How much worse would it be for Wonhyo wandering without a home or possessions? Would there be times he wasn't hungry, or times his sleeping place wasn't uncomfortable? Since he had nothing, she wasn't afraid of thieves, but she worried he might meet fierce groups hiding in mountains who hated monks, or be humiliated by drunk ruffians. What was more worrying was the thought that the protective power of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas might have left the vow-broken Wonhyo. When she thought of this, her heart felt dark as if soot had entered it. Wonhyo, who broke his vows, was one thing, but the princess herself who caused Wonhyo to break his vows was also a problem. After sharing a bed with Wonhyo, it felt like Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva was drifting away. It seemed the lifelike appearance of the Avalokitesvara statue created by Solgar was losing its light. The merciful look in the eyes and the affectionate look around the mouth that seemed about to smile suddenly seemed to fade, giving the princess a sudden chill. It felt like a sudden cold wind blew inside the Avalokitesvara hall, so she had once risen and left quickly. This ominous thought had faded a bit as days went by, but hearing the old maidservant speak of spirits today as the baby started moving brought back the old fear. The princess thought about how breaking the precepts of a cultivating monk or nun is one of the 5 great sins. Then, what would happen to this baby in the womb? When the thought flashed like lightning that this was a child created by the illicit union of a widow and a monk without a wedding ceremony before the spirits or Buddha, the princess felt stifled. Alas! It sounded like the voice of a spirit coming from above her head. The princess decided not to think such thoughts if possible, and if they did occur, she interpreted them favorably. The day after she told her parents of her pregnancy on Chilseok, the king proclaimed that Princess Yoseok was married to Wonhyo, so there was no shame before people now, but there was no way to escape the fear of spirits and Buddha. "Then shall we offer lunch?" Finally the princess said this. At this time, it had been over 150 years since Buddhism was practiced in Silla, so the Sindo, divine way handed down from ancient times, had declined significantly, but many women and common people still kept the old laws. It may be a bit tedious for the reader, but it is necessary to explain a little about our ancient Sindo faith at this opportunity. This is because it is necessary for telling the future life of Wonhyo and Princess Yoseok. The founder of Silla is called Parkyokgeos, but this should be read as Banga. Ba is fire. Banga means set by fire, or came from fire, which is the fire god. In animals, it is a chick, that is, a chicken. A chick means a descendant of fire. The place where the Silla founder was born is called Gerim, chick forest, and the saying that a chicken cried when he was born has this meaning. The saying that the baby was in a golden chest means gold is Gana, which in modern language is Hana, meaning sky, Hanal. Hanal means the sun and the day, so the sun is the body of the sun, and the day is the light of the sun. The god from the sun is called Gangam or Gimgam, and the god from the day is called Nangam or Ningam. That the Silla king used the surname Kim, gold, signifies he is a descendant of the sun, that is, a descendant of the sky. That the Silla founder was contained in a gold gourd means he is a descendant of the sky and a descendant of fire. Fire is a chick in animals, a gourd in plants, a flower, and a banga, pestle, mill, in tools. A banga is the shape of a chick pecking at something. The Hong Tar Yong remaining in Joseon now is a sound sung when welcoming the Hanga, Honga god, that is, the sun god. Sound originally means words addressed to a god. And the gang gang in Gangang Sule is ganga ganga, an archaic word for hanga hanga. The representative animal of the sun god is the puppy, ganga ji. A dog is made in front of the sun god's shrine because of this. Because the Silla founder is Banga, the founder's shrine was built in Garam, chick forest. A chicken was made, gourds were planted to let gourd flowers bloom on the roof and walls, and ritual vessels and decorations were made with small gourds, and musical instruments were also made. Scratching a gourd is music when offering rice water, maji, to the fire god. Beating a large gourd is a drum, buck. A drum is a word for gourd. A gourd is round like the sun, so it is the fruit most similar to the sun. A small gourd is called a dwingbak or jorongbak. Dwingbak means dang a bang, implying it came from the moon. Dang a means something from the moon, that is, the moon god. Deongul deongul, dingul, gorang are all sounds from a gourd, and simultaneously music to welcome the moon god. If you hollow out a small gourd, open the mouth narrowly, put stones inside, and shake it, this is bangle bangul, which is a bell, bangul, and it is music the banga god likes. A bell is also the spirit of a flower. Bangle implies blossoming, bangut. Shaking a bell goes bangle bangul, and a big bell goes beongul beongul. Bangle bangul, beongul beongul are bell sounds representing the virtue of the banga god. After the Silla founder, there is a king named Sok Talhai. Sokga is Sanga, and Talhai is Danga. Sanga means one who came from Sara, that is water, meaning the water god. Danga means one who came from the moon, meaning the moon god. That Talhai floated in from the East Sea is because of this. After sun, moon, and fire, it is water. In an agricultural country, water is precious. Water is life. Sa is water. Sa changes to ja, sasa, jaja, soso, jojo, shish, egg, jojo are all words related to water. Sa is water, but when sa moves, it becomes sara. Sara is life, and the characteristic of life is knowledge. Sara is alcohol, soul, person, sound, living, salim, sanga, and luck, bak. However, to a sinner it becomes an arrow. The one coming from Sara, the life god, is Sarang A. Sanga is the water god, and Sarang is the life god. Sanga causes existence, and Saranga causes love, that is, makes one love. The Sara god is female, and Saranga is male. Sol sol, sol sol, sol sol, sal sal, jol jol, jol jol, jil jil. These words are all sounds made when welcoming the Sara god, sounds produced or sounds of praying. Senga is kneeling, Singyo is unsalted or putting something into the ground, and Songgil, Songgil, Singil are all actions done before the Senga god. The dance mimics these shapes. In animals, the Senga god is a calf, Songaji, that is, a cow. So, a cow is made in front of the Sanga shrine, also known as the Sonangdang, and cows are sacrificed. Since Sarang is a male god, a man is called Sarang, and a man's room is called Sarang, and Sarang enshrines the Danga for the love god. Danga can also be Dana. The Saranga shrine is called a Sireong, shelf. Sarang Bang means Sara god, and Banga are enshrined there. Sara is the life god and water god, so the place where the Sara god is enshrined is called Sara, which is why Silla is called Sara. The Sara god is not only in the capital of Silla. The Sarabanga, Steamer Peak, found all over Joseon are all sites of Danga enshrining the water god and fire god. So even now, when there is a drought, people pray for rain at Sirubong. And if it rains too much, they also pray for rain to stop. It means setting out water to pray to fire, and lighting fire to pray to water. The love god comes from the Sara god, and the Sara god comes from the Manga god. The manga god comes from the Ma god. Ma is mountain and earth. The virtue of the manga god is making everything. The word mangoleo, make, comes from manga ra. Manga is the god who creates all things. Manga is managa, a contraction of managa. Naga means a hole, and it can also mean naga, birth exit. In animals, the manga god is a large serpent, goryongi. It is called sanmeong. The yoke, put on the neck of a cow or horse, means curved. In terrain, it is a hole, gumyong. In color, it is black, gyeomyong. In animals, it is a bear, gum. A foal, mangaji, is also so. Hole, black, serpent, bear, crow, hawk, foal. These are also histories explaining that our ancestors came from the tropical zone through mountainous regions to the plains where horses run. The founder of Goguryeo is Jumong, also called King Dongmyong. Jumong is Samang. Shamans still use the word Samang. Samang is Sangamang. It means a descendant of the water god and earth god. King Dongmyong's mother, Eoranga, Willowflower Ya, is the daughter of Habek, the water god. Eoranga means a descendant of moonlight. The moon reflection in water is Eoreong. King Dongmyong arrived at Angdang Water, Eomchesu, and seeing there was no boat and enemies were following, he said, "I am the son of heaven and the grandson of Habek." What is the son of heaven? King Dongmyong's father is King Gomwa of eastern Buyeo. Gomwa is Gomgangara. Gangara is a frog. In ancient times, frogs were seen as the spirit of the sky god, and toads, Meoguri, as the spirit of the earth god. The word Goguryeo means descendants of Ga, sun. The place enshrining the Mang-a god is called Mang-ara, which later changed to Mara and Ma'ul. Mara in the human body was head, eye, mouth, speech, and milk. The word for eye originated in the Wang dynasty of Goryeo. The mouth was called Ma'ul, milk was Mama, thus mother was Mama, and food was Ma or Mal. Chicken was also called Mal. Water is Mal. Calling a neighborhood Mara or Ma'al is because there is a village enshrining the Mangara god. Places where the king or officials were also called Ma'ul. Ma'ul was Miya, so even now clean things are called Malga, clear. Like Miya, it means clean. The word Malgyun, clear, also comes from this. All good things have Ma attached, and all high things have Ma attached. In Goguryeo, sky and sun were called Ama, pine trees were Malnamu, and generally things precious to people all had the character Ma attached. Therefore, the Manga god is the sky god and the sun god. In Silla, the sky and sun were called Abba, mother was Baba, milk was also Baba. Goguryeo's Mo, rice plant, was Bai, Mam, room was Bam, horse head was Bal, horsemane was Balga, and all high and precious things had the character Ba attached. Goguryeo's Manga god became the Banga god in Silla and the Danga god in Baekje. The same tiger was called Meong in Goguryeo, Dal in Baekje, and Beong in Silla. Water was Manga in Goguryeo language, Dalda in Baekje language, and Balda in Silla language. While serving the same god, the three countries hated each other's founding ancestral gods as Manga, Banga, and Danga. Ganadarama Basa are all gods and counting 1, 2. Mahan and Goguryeo chiefly served the Ma god, Byeonhan and Silla served the Ba god, Jinhan served the Sa god, Baekje served the Da god. Only the chief god was different, serving 10 gods was the same. Goguryeo elevated the Ga and Ma gods most, so Gara became a general term for god. Silla revered the 3 Gabasa most, Baekje revered Ganadara. Also, even in the same country, the revered god changed with the times. The Ga god alone was revered as the head in any country at any time, but this was because he was the great source as the A god, whether first, last, above, or below. The god with the greatest influence on Silla's culture and the era in which Wonhyo and Princess Yoseok lived was the Sa god. The Sa god was originally the main god of Jinhan and is the water god. He is the 4th son of the Ga god and the youngest son. He is the god in charge of water, life, and love. The water of life was called Sul, alcohol, in Silla. Soup, mul, was all Sul. Calling the Dano festival in May Suri was a competition festival for the Sara god, the alcohol god. On Dano in May, they hang a high Dana, word from Danga, and a handsome priest named Sadang performs the Suri play. Therefore, May is called Sadagi, reed chicken, and among the ritual tools used then is a Sadakdar, ladder. Now, summarizing the important gods revered in Silla, they are Ganarasa'a, Reading this all at once becomes Geo Norisiwa. Geo Norisiwa means ruling the country, similar to the Japanese word kanarasu. It is like Baekje saying Ganada or Ganadara, Kudara. Ganda Ganda is a song calling the names of the three gods, Ganada. In Buyeo it was Gasabara, in Goguryeo it was Gamanasa. Later it was Gamasaba. Therefore at the shrine, 4 spirit tablets were enshrined at this time. So they rubbed their hands 4 times and bowed 4 times. The God seems not to have been enshrined in later times. In more ancient times it seems the 3 Gama gods were enshrined, but later the Sa god was enshrined. It is Gomiya, Gimiya. In Silla, besides these 5 gods, they also enshrined the God, that is, Anga. The A god is the void god and the wind god. Since he is the god of bows and arrows and births everything, he is the god of conception and childbirth. At the same time, since he eats everything, he is also the Ge, odd of destruction and death. He is the god before all things exist. The A god becomes the Ara god. Ara is the god of darkness, disease, and the underworld. The A god is called Ang-A, and the Ara god is called Arang-A, also called Yongum, Engum, Eongkum. In later times, he was called Yongsan, becoming a fearful god. Yongsan Dodori is originally music offered to this Ang-A god. These gods were genealogy, history, religion, philosophy, culture, and language. Not only the state revered and sacrificed to these gods, but districts, villages, individual houses, and individuals all had personal gods. Wonhyo's childhood name was Seodang, and as an adult, he was called Wonhyo, so Seodang Wonhyo is Wonhyo's name. Seodang is Sadang, meaning a person bound to the water god's shrine. This means he was born by praying to the water god, and also that his house belonged to the Sadang. The name Sotang, Kaodang, nowadays is a similar name. Wonhyo is Angyo. This is Ang-A, the void god, that is, the wind god. The wind god has a good physique, is broad-minded, speaks well, and likes music. Since Wonhyo happened to be born at dawn, the characters So, dawn, were chosen. Wonhyo's mother gave birth to him near a Sanga-dang, water god shrine, on her way back from it at dawn, so he was named Sadang, and then called Angyo, considering the wind god. Wonhyo himself liked the name Angyo after learning Buddhism, so he adopted it as his monk name. Wonhyo means void. In Buddhist sutras, there is a bodhisattva named Akashagarbha, void storehouse bodhisattva. Wonhyo compared his name to this. In fact, it is so. Angyo or Wonhyo is pronounced in various ways like Anaga, Onaga, Ongya, Onya, Anya, becoming various words. It means flying, going an arrow, and the heddle for weaving. The void god is handsome. He is large-eyed, ilgogil, and deep insidious inside, Kum. Kum is a word speaking largely of the void god. Although he is thus large-eyed and insidious, he is also cheeky, Kum, and crouches. He becomes a roaring tiger, Yohung, but also a meowing cat. He can be majestic, Ong, and also cute, Ongjing. Ongal, Ongal, Hongongol are all sounds of the same wind god. The wind god is free like this. Princess Yoseok's name, Ayuda, means empty moon, and also windstone, Pungsok, or wind moon, Pungwol. Ayu is the same as Angyo, meaning Ang-A, and Da is moon and stone. Yoseok has the same meaning. Stone is jade, and it is the baby of the moon. Ancients thought that moonlight shining on the earth or water congealed to become stone. So stone is called Dangmang. It means son of the moon, son of the earth. Dangmang changed phonetically to Dolmeng and Dama. Dama also means toenail. Ancestors who worshipped the moon and mountain gods cherished Dama for this reason. Let us mention one more thing and return to the main story. This is because it cannot be left out in explaining Silla at that time. It is about the Hwarang. The Hwarang is a youth organization united by worshipping the Silla founder god. Silla had strong enemies, Goguryeo to the north and Baekje to the west, and defending against them was a major task. Moreover, since both Goguryeo and Baekje had ambitions to unify the 3 kingdoms, Silla did not have a single comfortable day. Accordingly, the lord of Silla, great King Jinhung, intending to greatly boost the nation's power, built an Angadang and appointed 2 beauties, Dal Namo and Sangong, as Dangara, Dangul shaman, to gather young men of the world for training. Shibong Wonhwa is this. However, due to the incident where Sangha was jealous of Dala, lured her home at night, fed her wine until drunk, killed her, and threw her into the water. This group was disbanded. This time they created a youth organization serving the Silla founder god, the Banga god. Banga is fire, gourd, and chicken, but flowers are also called Banga. Hwarang is Bangaranga. Adding riol indicates movement, meaning fire moving. Calling this quickly becomes Bangranga. The boys of Silla at that time competed to become Barang. Their attire and training methods were as follows. First, the hair. They parted the hair at the back, bunched it under both ears, tied it with red string to make a gourd bottle shape. This was called Bangja and Bongji, and this Bongji hair is called Banga. Then they bind the head with a red cloth that has a round sun-shaped metal attached to the top of the head. This is called Dang or Bang. Below they wear blue pants, and above a multicolored jacket, Sigong. This is called Bangori. Bangori has wide sleeves and an open chest. The multicolored stripes imitate the Banga, that is, the tiger. At the waist they wear a sash and carry a gourd bottle. This is also called Bangara. At first they carried dried ones without hollowing them out, but later they hollowed them out, put jade stones inside, and wore 5 of them. When running, the jade stones rolled and the gourds hit each other, making a loud noise. At 15, they shaved the crown. Go, bake. This symbolizes the sun. They wear a Banga hat. This is called a Beonggeo-ji. A Bangat is shaped like a gourd flower and woven largely with bamboo Banga, but a Beonggeo-ji is woven smaller and more conveniently. It is what was called a straw hat in later times. The brim was turned up, showing a spirited look. Here they painted it black, inserted pheasant feathers obliquely, and attached a red tuft mo on the side coming to the forehead. It modeled the comb of a chick. They gather under a teacher called Sama to read texts and learn archery, running, jumping, horse riding, stone throwing, mountain climbing, swimming, carrying loads, and hide and seek. All these talents are called Baram. It means a wish to destroy enemy countries and make the motherland great. After practicing Baram all day like this, when the sun sets and the gourd flowers bloom, they wash their hair and bodies in clear water, drink 4 sips to Meosigi, Miyokth, go to the Bangal shrine, put their hands together in a bell shape, kneel on the right knee, raise themselves up, bow 4 times, and then sing Bangyora Bangyora. Also, Banagara Banagara. Several thousand singing Bangyora Bangyora was a spectacle. They took Bangol Bangol, Beongol Dongol, Deongol Deongol, Deol Leong, Sol Leong, as goals of their training. Not keeping wealth or comfort in mind, they regarded life, death, glory, and shame as straw, aiming to end their lives only with loyalty, filial piety, trust, courage, and benevolence. Since their bodies were dedicated to the country, they would go whenever called, and once they went to the battlefield, they would not return alive. Chunchu and Yushin were both of Hwarang origin. The Hwarang spirit influenced Silla women as well. It goes without saying that Hwarang became the love of Silla women. The Bangol and Sangol naturally became mates for the Hwarang. They cut their hair and offered it as material for the Hwarang's Beonggeo-ji hat. The human hair Beonggeo-ji originated this way. However, during the reigns of the 2 queens Sondok and Jindeok, only Buddhism was revered, so the Hwarang declined for a while. Since Chunchu ascended the throne with the determination to conquer Baekje and Goguryeo, it goes without saying that he tried to revive the Hwarang, and even among the people, many patriots worried about the decline of youth spirit and thought of reviving the king. The gourd-masked dancers Wonhyo watched with Great Master Dayan might not have been ordinary people. Wonhyo, who disappeared from the capital, set out on a wandering path. He wore a large bangat, attached a bell to his waist, held a gourd bowl, and carried a sack. Wonhyo set out on an aimless road, but his feet headed towards Sangsangju. That place was Wonhyo's hometown. In Sangju, there was a large shrine on Mount Taebek where the Banga god and Sanga god were enshrined. Since the Sanga shrine of Mount Taebek was the largest in all of Silla, the district name in Silla language is called Bureum. Bureum means become so and wish. Wishing means praying, was called Sangju. Wonhyo was born after his parents prayed to the Sanga god. His name Seodong means born by praying to the Sangha god, and also receiving the essence of the Dang-ak god, that is, the moon god, or wishing for the moon god's protection. Written in Chinese characters, it is Suwol, water moon. Great Master Wisong's disciple has the same meaning. Wonhyo scratched the gourd, entered villages to beg for food, slept anywhere, and chanted wherever people gathered. For a long time, 10 years, Wonhyo had been hiding in Bunhuangsa Temple, only writing, but now he could finally inspect the condition of the people. Due to constant wars, the people were greatly impoverished. When Wonhyo taught the chanting method, people asked, "If we chant, will our dead son go to the Pure Land?" Or said, "If we chant like this, will we surely be born in a peaceful world?" Wonhyo answered forcefully, "Of course." The people seemed to have clearly lost faith in the Banga god, Sangha god, and the gods believed in since ancient times. The Danga shrines enshrined in every village were all old, with pillars crooked and leaking rain. Only gourd vines stretched up onto the roofs, with gourds hanging roundly. Wonhyo felt that unless Goguryeo, Baekje, and Silla became one country, the people of the three countries could not live and would eventually perish. To do that, he thought Silla must gain strong power and fight two great wars. He thought that even if many people died at once, unless the root of the trouble was completely cut off, the people of the three countries would never have a day to live in peace. Wonhyo did not look carelessly at anything he saw on the road. He observed men, women, and even children playing, and closely examined the children's facial features. He intended to divine Silla's future from there. It was around the middle of June when Wonhyo reached a place called Gamasemi. That year, there was a drought, and the people were boiling over in suffering. The crops were all withering, and even the trees were on the verge of drying up. Many streams had run dry. On the steamer peak of every village, they lit a gangara fire, smeared the blood of a puppy dog on a rock, and called out, "Gang Gang Sangara! Gang Gang Sangara!" Gang means the god from Ga, that is, the sky god, and Sangara means the god in charge of water coming down from the sky. Bara Bara Bara, they also called out, meant sunlight, and at the same time rain. It meant sprinkling rain. Manadara, Manadara, they tried calling with the old word mundeo, meaning water. Manadanga, Manadanga, Mundanga. They also called the name of the ancient water ghost. What they wanted most of all was water. If it didn't rain for a few more days, this year's farming would be ruined. If a famine comes, they starve to death. Some years they can't eat because it rains too much, and some years they can't eat because it doesn't rain. They think this is all the god's anger. The Sangha god must give rain appropriately. To do that, the Ganga god must give orders to the Sangha god. Therefore, Gangang Sangara, Gangang Sangara. The people implore like this. They go up to the steamer peak on the Mema, mountain ridge closest to the sky, and pray for rain. Wonhyo called out at the top of his voice along with the people whenever he passed such places. Gangang Sangara. Every time he did, he thought of Amita Buddha's Pure Land. He thought of a world where everything goes according to one's wishes. Seeing the scene of his compatriots crying in the drought, Wonhyo felt that living in Bunhuangsa until now had been too undeserved. He hadn't lived luxuriously, but he lived without worrying about food or clothes. Even if he didn't eat delicacies, he lived without knowing hunger. But how many hungry people are there in the world? Wonhyo saw people who dug up grass roots to eat and were swollen. He also saw people collapsed by the roadside from hunger. Wonhyo saw a man drawing water from a deep well, 1 or 2 gourds at a time, to give water to the dying crops. His belly stuck to his back, his eyes were sunken, and they had no light. Wonhyo drew water on behalf of that man. The crop clumps seemed to come alive immediately upon receiving the water. Saranga, Saranga. A song praising the love god came out of Wonhyo's mouth automatically. It seemed Wonhyo finally saw and understood that life is a sea of suffering. It is a burning house inside a house on fire. Wonhyo thought this anew. Wonhyo felt that the people suffering like this was all Wonhyo's fault. If Wonhyo were a person of great merit, wouldn't there be no famine and disease within 1,000 of where Wonhyo lived? He thought that even if not 1,000 li, there should be no such suffering for the people within 100. Wonhyo heard every grain of rice he had eaten over the past 33 years shouting, "You scoundrel! What did you do to earn that rice?" It felt like every grain of rice was glaring and attacking him, and every thread of his clothes was stabbing his body. "Wonhyo, what have you done?" The shout seemed to block his ears. It was early dusk when Wonhyo arrived at the mountain village of Gamasaimi with these feelings. Wonhyo's legs hurt and he was hungry. His mind was even more tormented. "Look here, I am a passing beggar. Tell them to let me stay one night." Wonhyo stood in front of a house. The village was at the entrance to a large mountain, so the stream did not run dry even in this drought, and willow trees lined the waterside, drooping their branches. The willow is the tree of the Ang-A god, Ang-Al god, and Ing-A means arrow wood. The one who came out in response to Wonhyo's words was a boy with Bang-A, Hwarang-style hair. "Where is the guest from?" The boy bowed politely. It was the bow of a Hwarang. "I am a passing beggar. The day has set, so let me stay one night and go." Wonhyo said this while observing the boy's face. The boy had a face white as jade, large eyes, and a prominent nose. "Come into the sarang, guest room." The boy opened the sarang door. Wonhyo stepped on the stepping stone and went up to the earthen porch. This is where the Banga god is enshrined. Whenever stepping up here, one puts two hands together to make a bulge in the middle and shakes them up and down, calling Bangara, 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 Bangara 4 times. Goguryeo and Baekje people mock this and call it Beongyeori, mute. In Goguryeo, they call this Madang and say Mangara, 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 Mangara. In Baekje, they call it Dodang and say Dangyora, 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 Dangyora. The guest room was clean but looked like no one had lived in it for a long time. When the boy opened the door for Wonhyo, a cool breeze came from the room. In the lower part of the room, there was a shelf for the Sanang god with paintings of 3 gods hanging, and on the shelf in the upper part the Sarang god, Sadang god, and Sanga god were enshrined. Places enshrining gods are called Ma'ul, Siro, or Dang-A. And in places enshrining gods, they hang a straw rope, hang a bell on the ceiling, and hang a cord to pull the bell. Wonhyo knew this house was a purely Silla-style old house. Moreover, seeing musical instruments like a geomungo, gayagum, cymbals, and drum under the shelf, he knew the owner was not an ordinary person. Wonhyo washed his face and feet as the boy served him and formally greeted the boy. The boy's manners were impeccable. The boy's name was Sangasasama, Sangcheon, but he was also called Sasanao, Samaeng. It fit the meaning of a spring surging forth. The boy said his grandfather was a teacher at the Gasanga shrine in these mountains, and his father died in the war against Baekje. The boy said he was studying at Gasanga shrine following his grandfather, but had returned home briefly to nurse his mother. He also mentioned that his elder sister Asaga, Ajage, was at Gasanga shrine as a Gasanga, Gasina. He also learned the boy was 15 years old. He learned that the boy's mother and 1 sister lived in this house with servants. Wonhyo said, "Look here, I am a person who was a monk but broke my vows and wander as a beggar. It is fearful that the young master treats a humble person so well. I am called Boksong. In my childhood I was called Soitong." He introduced himself like this. "Since you say Boksong, what characters do you use and what does it mean?" the boy asked. Wonhyo sat in a half-lotus position and Sasama knelt on one knee. The character Bok and the character Sung for nature received. It means Basangi. "Since you say Basangi, were you born conceived in the bat month, rabbit month, February?" "Ha, you know well. My birthday is in the bat month, and I call myself Basangi because I look ugly. Basang! But a Basangi is small, so it's enough to pluck leaves and grass roots to eat and sleep in rock crevices. But this body is big and the stomach is big, so I am always causing trouble for others. It is a pitiful thing." Wonhyo said this and laughed cheerfully. The boy also smiled. The boy respected him in his heart, thinking this person must be a man of the way.